Hi everybody, I'm Brian. Let's go do some woodworking. Okay, so I'm just looking at my axe head before I start making my handle. And there is some work I have to do here. I have to straighten the edge. I'm going to resharpen it. I'm going to do some filing on it. I'm going to clean it up. But before I do any of those things, I'm looking at the socket that goes through the head. And very often these old tools have been pounded with hammers here or there and smashed. And this one has a very clear lip that you can feel with your finger on the underside of the axe head. And that's going to really scrape when I go to mount this. So I have some little half-round files here. There's a chainsaw file. Use whatever you have on hand. And go into the bottom there and just get rid of any of those. Feel with your finger, and if you can feel a lip inside of there, that's good. Just get rid of any little nub that might be there that can catch the wood. Okay, there I've gone through and I've filed it, and everything's nice and flat. So my next process is to have my piece of wood that I've cut out of an old axe handle. I like the orientation of the grain, which goes across just like I want it to. And I'm going to take my axe head and transfer the profile onto the end of my handle with a pencil. So I have my piece of handle that I've cut, that I like the length of and everything. The grain orientation is good. I have the head of the hatchet sitting on top here. And it just so happens that this is really small and I can't get a pencil in here. So I've taken a lead from a mechanical pencil and I'm going to use that to go down inside and mark the shape that I want to begin to cut and to start hanging the handle, fitting it onto the end of this. And there it is. I have my shape on the handle, and now I'm going to start to fit that and cut it. So I've gone to the belt sander and I've roughly shaped my profile onto the end of this. You don't have to use a belt sander. You can use any tool that you have available to you. You can use hand tools. It doesn't really matter. I just use the belt sander with a very coarse belt to remove the material quickly. You may also have noticed that it's not even close to being straight. The reason that it's not is that this is a hewing hatchet, which means that it has a flat face on it, and you don't want to smash your knuckles. So you offset the handle, which is what I'm trying to do here. I want the handle not to be straight up and down. So I'm purposefully attempting to begin the process a little crooked. And I'm left-handed, so I'm making this for myself. And that's why that's not straight. So once you're close, and it doesn't yet go in, but it's very close, I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to go around and mark the inside of this. Just roughly, kind of get it all dirty with pencil lead. And that is going to rub off on the wood as I start to set the metal onto the wood and tell me where it's too tight. So I'm going to go around and do that. I'm going to take the handle, set it on there, and I'm going to start banging it on. And then where it starts leaving marks, I'm going to go around and with an Olfa knife or a carving knife or a wood file, doesn't really matter, I'm going to start removing that material that I can see where it's touching. Once the end has begun to go in, I'm not going to touch that end again because I don't want to make that too small. I'm going to work on the areas where it's actually binding as it goes in, and I'm going to keep going until I've got a piece of wood sticking out the other end of the head of the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, work on that for a while, and then I'll show you the next step. So at this point I've shaped the end of my handle, and it's exactly like I want it. It's offset. As you can see, the handle skews off to the side. The grain in the handle goes straight through the head, so it'll be nice and strong. So now the next step is to cut this part of the wood so that we can put a wedge in. And you want the cut to be nice and straight, to follow exactly nice and straight, to go across from one end to the other. And you can do this with a handsaw, but since I have a bandsaw and it's faster, I'm going to cut that with a bandsaw, and then after that we're going to go ahead and make a wedge to wedge that on. I've fit my handle into the head and I'm happy with the fit. It's good. I've cut my saw kerf down the center of it. I've made a wedge that is also pretty much flats on. That's going to go in there and wedge it onto the head. So I'm almost ready at this point to set everything together. However, if I do it now, I'm going to have a really tough time shaping my handle up underneath this metal here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shape some of the wood. I won't worry about the bottom of the handle right now, but I want to shape all this wood here so that I don't have to bang into the head of the axe with a knife or something. So I'm going to go ahead and shape that, and then we'll set the head on the handle. I'm using a spoke shave to shape the wood right now. It's a nice tool to do it with because it'll give an even, nice flat surface, and it works well on round things. You could also use a draw knife. You can just carve it with a knife. You can do it any way you like. So there we go. I've shaped the wood that's directly underneath the head of the axe. Got my wedge, so I'm going to set the head on here now. So slip it on as far as I can. And then you can do this on your bench, or you can do it on the floor, concrete floor. But you want to pound the head down like this, because the weight of itself will cause it to fall onto the handle even harder. And you want to go as far as it'll go. Get it nice and tight on there. There's no gaps around the bottom. It's nice and tight around the bottom. One more for good luck. And then I'm going to take my wedge, set it in there, and we'll tap that in as far as it'll go. There we go, that's filled up the void nicely. That's pretty tight. I don't think that'll come back off again. So after I've sawn that off and cleaned it up a little bit, I'm going to take this and I'm going to sit the head of it in a little bit of oil so that the wood inside the head of the hatchet soaks up some of that oil and expands a little bit and tightens it even more. That's a finished hang right there. So I've got a handle to shape and a little more work to do, but that's how you do it.